I'd like you to zoom in so you can see the square that we're in. Make that square be about as big as you can on your map screen. If your compass is in the way, you can left click on it and drag your compass out of the way. You'll notice that for you guys, your compass is going to be pointing somewhat south. Whether it's southeast or southwest, it's going to be pointing in the direction that you're facing when you brought up your map. You'll see that we're standing in a square, and if you read the numbers across the top of the map, you've got a 019 about almost from the left, on the left side of halfway across, and 020 on the right side, just on the right of the halfway mark on your screen. If you were to zoom out a bit, you can see the numbers across the very top of your map are numbered from the left side of the map, basically from 0 to the far side of the map.
Oh, I see.
Okay? Those are called the eastings. Okay? So we're in a 3-digit grid as far as eastings go in the 019 section of the map. So 019 starts on that line of 019 and goes all the way to the right to 020. If I was to give an easting of 019, it means I'm anywhere between 019 and 020. Similarly, if you look at the northings, which is the marks that go horizontal across the map, you can see that we're in the grid of 057 as far as northings go. Above us is 058, but we're in the 057 quadrant. All this means, if I'm going to call it a 3-digit grid, I can say that I'm at 019057. And that tells anybody they can zero in on the map and find out what would it be? What 100 meter radius that I'm in. You'll notice that this square is 100 meters across. Have any of you guys used the 6-digit grids and not read them off the map that way so far?
Used them and have read them. Not that well, but I have.
Well, Armor 3 gives us a nice way to cheat.
Marker.
If we have a marker of where we are, we can place our cursor right over top of that spot. You'll see the top right number that's beside the cursor shows 019057. It shows us exactly what quadrant we're in, what 6-digit grid we are in. Now I'd like to take a second and back out. Zoom out of your map until those squares go away. And you're left with a much bigger square where you see along the eastings you only see 2 digits now. You see 01 and 02. Let me know when you're all seeing the same thing.
Got it. Yeah, I got it.
So here is an example of what we would call a 4-digit grid. The difference here is this grid is 1 kilometer in size either way. So 1 kilometer square. I could call a 4-digit grid and say that we're at 0105. We're anywhere within this 1 kilometer square. Does this make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Alright, so let's zoom back in for a second onto our 6-digit grid. So we can only see the 6-digit grid that we're in, 019057. And for a moment, let's divide this up into an 8-digit grid. what I'm going to do is add one number to each one of these, the eastings, and one number to the northings. If I was at 0195, can someone place a marker in side channel where I might be as far as eastings go? Excellent. And who put that marker down?
That was Solo.
Okay, perfect. That's exactly right. Let me do some quick markers here. Rudolph or somebody, if you want to start from the right side and help me out, we can do this a little quicker. I hope you're getting the idea that what we can do is divide this quadrant up into another 10. So if we were to look at where we are right now within the 6-digit grid 019, 057, as far as the eastings go, what would our 4-digit version be for the easting?
0198.
0198 sounds about right to me. And so our northing with a 4-digit number would be a what?
About 5, I would think.
Seven.
Oh, I've got my red line. Never mind. Yeah, 6 or 7 probably better, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I like 7. So we could give a much more accurate description, and you would normally use an 8-digit grid if you were calling artillery or something like that. So we would call our grid 8-digit grid at 0198 0577. You don't make any kind of marker. If you were to write it, you would write it like this. And that's how you would indicate an 8-digit grid. You don't need to put any kind of comma in the middle to show that the difference between the eastings and the northings. You always divide whatever you are given as a grid in half anyway. So if you're given a 4-digit grid, you've got a 1 kilometer radius you're dealing with. If you're given a 6-digit grid, you're talking about a 100-meter radius. If we're talking about an 8-digit grid, we're talking about a 10-meter radius. And we don't have the map tools within Arma 3, but you can get down to a 10-meter or 10-digit grid, and you'd be talking about a 1-meter radius. There's not much use in that, in all honesty, but there you go. So there's the grid system. Everyone understand that?
Yeah,
Yep.
pretty simple.
Yeah. Okay, so now to move on, we're going to go, let's take a look to the right where you see the contact reports marker, and on the top right of your map, click what looks like the 3 pages stacked on top of each other. Turns your textures off, and you can see the contour lines on the map much better. You can see that just to the...
You learn something every day. I didn't know that.
Aha. If you look to the southeast of the contact reports marker, you can see the crest of the hill is at 86 meters because that is the very smallest circle that's at the top of that hill. We know that's the top of a hill because it's 86 and the next contour line below is marked at 83. The one below that at 80. So we know that that's the crest of a hill, and the crest is at 86 meters. We could also refer to that hill as Hill 86. Okay, if you zoom in very, very closely, you'll see a lot more of those contour lines showing up. And one of the neat things about Arma 3, and sometimes what I think one of the gamey things about Arma 3, is with this digital map you can hold your cursor right over top of any spot, and it reads you right below the 6-digit grid that it's in what the elevation is. So using that, you can scroll your cursor around and see that each one of these contour lines is at a 1 meter difference in elevation. Basically all that means is the closer that you see those lines together, you know the steeper that slope is, because it's going down or going up much faster than when those lines are far apart. When you zoom out and you see the thicker lines, okay, some are thinner, some are a little darker. The darker lines are usually indicators of 5 meter intervals. And so when you're in a rush and you want to determine how high a hill is, if you don't see one of these markers for 83, or you don't put your cursor over top of it, you get a good sense of it by reading those darker lines, because they're 5 meters in elevation, each one of them. So next one's for Ramna. I'll give it to you verbally. It's 03660273. And honestly, when I'm playing Arma, I generally have a blank piece of paper and a pen handy, and I'm scratching these down. That's the way I remember them, because as soon as someone starts giving me a grid, I start writing it down. That was 03660273. And honestly, to tell you the truth, the way you should read it is, if you're going to give somebody a grid, you should say, I'm at grid 03660273 tree. You say tree because it's easier to understand than 3. But you say, I'm going to give you a grid. You have a little pause, and then you say the numbers slowly and clearly. Because you got to remember, you're probably dealing with a squad leader who is in the middle of gotten 3 fire teams, and the fire team leaders are yelling at him. The fire team members are all yelling, and there's gunfire going on. So you want to be slow and clear and concise. That's very excellent. Yep, that's right on.
Got it.
You turn your map off and just walk up to me and choose teleport. You'll be able to left click on that spot in the map and we'll be there immediately. So we might have thought that we were going to come out here and be on the summit of the largest hill around us. And lo and behold, that's not the case. Let's forget about that for a moment. And let's move from this point to that northwest, where we were expecting to see some foliage. And we should, what should we do?
Or walk.
We're going to be walking. What should we see as we move from here to hill 157?
We should be walking along a ridge line, and there should be foliage to our right.
All right, and what should happen to our elevation along the way?
Going up a little
Down
bit.
then up.
Right, we're going to go down and then up. Indeed, let's take a walk over there and see how it looks. Now, some people look at contour lines and get it immediately. And honestly, some people look at contour lines and have a little hard time reading them. You know, it's funny how, math for me is hard and contour lines for me is easy. I don't know why that is. However, that's just the way it is. But as you can see, the contour lines give us a pretty good picture when you learn how to read them, how that terrain's going to be before we even get there. So when you get better at map reading and that's the reason why I usually know what my sight lines are going to be when I get in charge of a mission and start choosing LZs and that sort of stuff. I'm already looking at the map and I'm looking at the elevations and choosing all those locations based on what I expect the sight lines to be. And in all honesty, sometimes you just misread the map and you get out there and you realize that you're what you thought was a decent covered position hidden by terrain is not that way at all. Most people read maps and all they look at is the roads, right? So honestly, you get gamers joining the game and they look at the roads and they don't really know how to read the contour lines and honestly don't know what they mean. So even at first when you're told what they mean, it still takes practice to really to be able to use it quickly and intuitively. So you can't be surprised by that. So that's really all I got for map reading. And if somebody else has a tip or something like that they want to share, I'm all ears.
I always use the compass to measure out the 8-digit grid.
Okay, so you're which what?
I use my compass. There should be a small measurement tool on the bottom. If you just turn around so you line up your compass to the 6-digit grid square, you should be able to just pick the 8-digit grid squares really quick.
Okay, I've got the compass.
Yeah, the compass
looking
is
at the
10
map,
centimeters.
Not sure how to do that.
You need to turn around until just turning around your character. Turn around your character until it lines up with the
Okay.
you're in or you're looking for.
So
Then
face
you're able to
directly
use the
north
measurement.
for this example. And then open up your map. Then you can click and drag that compass onto one of the grids that you see.
Right.
And then make the square fill the compass edge to edge.
The left side of the compass is actually a ruler.
Yeah, I
but
see
then
that, but
you have to make the grid then fill the compass from left edge to right edge then. So you get those 10 divisions. It's kind of cool.
Yep. My screen resolution doesn't show me those numbers, so there's no possible way I would ever read it or it would ever be useful to me.
Yeah, the 5 is the easiest because it's right where the compass folds, but I can see the marks, I just can't read them. I'm sure there's a mod.
yeah, it looks like when we double click on the compass, it becomes a 200. It covers 2 grids on the 6-digit grid.
Ooh, I like it.
Oh, it
And
gets bigger. I never saw that.
Yeah, and it looks like when you double click on it again, it gets smaller and it's 100 meters. So you can either do 10-meter increments or 20.
I always do that on the start of the mission.
Yeah, I always make it bigger on the map.
And you learned something else new. I didn't know that either.
Neither did I. That's awesome.
We still